everybody, I'm Melissa Salco. I'm an independent health and well-being consultant. My background is that I've been doing health and well-being professionally for about the last almost 18 years. I am a certified yoga and meditation instructor, trained in several different forms of both meditation and asana or yoga practice. And I've been working in healthcare for my entire career, so more than 35 years. This is my personal passion, and that I actually am someone who follows the path of yoga. And if you've ever done yoga, a lot of times we just think of the poses, right? Some getting into pretzel-y, bendy positions, but yoga actually has, okay, sorry. Yoga actually has 8 limbs to it. So we're going to talk today about 3. We're going to talk about asana, which are the poses that we're all most familiar with. We're going to do them sitting in a chair, so don't worry. As you can see, I'm not especially attired for anything in particular. We're going to do dhyana, which is meditation, and we're going to do breath work, which is called pranayama. And you don't have to remember those words. They're the language that of yoga is Sanskrit. I only know a little bit of Sanskrit. As part of my training, we learned some of it. But we're going to do some postures and some movement. We're going to meditate, and we're going to take control of our breath and do some intentional breathing today. So we're not going to do anything. So if you just ate or you're starving, it won't make any difference. It's not going to bother you one way or the other. So as we go through this, at any time you have a question, just stop me. This is a conversation. We're going to learn things together. So if we can go to the next slide. So we're going to talk about first a little bit about the benefits of each of these 3 things. And asana or postures are really important for how we feel physically in our body. So it increases flexibility, it reduces pain. Lots of great research. It makes sense that you increase flexibility, right? Some people say I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible, and I'm like, but that's the point, right? You're not flexible, but if you keep practicing, you'll get more flexible. But it really does reduce pain. And we actually, when I was at the Cleveland Clinic, we utilized some of the limbs, just like we're going to do today. We taught breathing, we taught some physical movements, and we taught meditation in order to help people cope with traumatic injuries, illness, and some of the therapies that they had to go through. So the reduction in pain is really huge. If you have any issues related to arthritis or joint pain, yoga or the postures are a really powerful way to reduce that. It improves your posture, and it's not something that you have to consciously think about. Just practicing yoga actually teaches you to use your core of your body, and it extends and lengthens the spine, because that's an important part of actually doing the asana practice. It also enhances your mood. I don't know if you've ever been to a yoga class, like people don't walk out bummed out in general. They walk out a little sweaty, feeling pretty good in general. So it lifts your mood as well as improving and reducing pain and increasing flexibility. And the last thing is that it builds strength. And we talked about this in one of the sessions that we did last week, how important strength building is, because we're using our body weight. It's a little different than lifting weights, but in a lot of ways, we're using our body weight. So what I love about the asana practice of yoga is if you have a mat, great. But if you don't have a mat, it doesn't matter. You don't need any special equipment. You don't need to even be wearing anything in particular really special. It's just about coming to the practice and doing whatever you can based on what's happening. So we're going to practice. You can go to the next slide. I love, this is one of my favorite chair poses, or couch poses, right? This is the lay back on the couch asana practice. So we're going to do some chair yoga, and I have to sit sideways, right, so that you can still see me. No, but do I need to be sideways? Otherwise, my back would be. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll switch halfway through so you can see me. So we're going to start by just sitting on our chair. We're going to scoot a little bit to the edge, and you want to make sure that your feet are flat on the floor. There's nothing in your hands. And you just want to sit in what is a modified version of what's called mountain pose. So we're gonna sit with our shoulders up, back, and rolled out and away from our ears. So you wanna actually have that sensation of rolling them back. And then just let your hands rest with the palms facing up on the thighs. And just go ahead and close your eyes for a minute. You're in a safe space. I promise to protect all of us while we're sitting here. And just breathe. And while you're sitting there breathing, just notice the sensation of support of the floor underneath your feet. And the sensation of the support of the chair underneath your seat. And then just feel that uprightness of the spine. Make sure your shoulders are relaxed and your jaw is relaxed. Take a couple deep breaths in and out through the nose. One more. Good. Go ahead and open your eyes, and from this position, we're going to reach back to the back side. These chairs are actually perfect for this. They've got these little areas down below, and you're just going to grab there just very gently. So like you see, I'm not gripping, just grab with the fingers, and you're just gently going to pull away so you feel that stretch through the shoulders and the arms and the backs of the arms. A nice stretch, keeping those feet flat on the floor. Maybe looking up if that feels okay for you. And then go ahead and look down. Keep that nice tension. Good, and then gently release. And I'm gonna switch, sorry. We're gonna grab the chair, one side of the chair. See, there's such great little grip points, right? So that's what about yoga is, finding your little point of grip where you can actually rotate the movement. And you're gently going to lean away. So we're holding on with the left hand to the left side of the chair, and we're gently going to shift our weight over to the right. Make sure you got a good grip so you don't slip out of the chair. And you're just gently going to feel like a little stretch along the neck. It's not a big stretch, it's a small one. Good. And then we're going to release that and then shift to the other side. Same thing, have a nice grip. And gently just allow that stretch to feel that along the neck. Good. Back to center. Switching back and forth. And then we're going to sit back as far as we can in the chair. So we feel that support, the lower back actually tucked in there. And then you can lean back, and we're going to take our right leg and just lift it up. And we're going to point and flex. Just gentle point and flex. Really feel that leg extend away from you. Make sure that you're still using the chair for support. And then after pointing and flexing, we're going to rotate the ankle. So when we've been sitting in a position for too long, we immediately think of our shoulders, but our feet, and then rotate in the opposite direction, our feet actually get tired and fatigued too, just sitting. Good, and then release back down to the floor. Same thing on the other side. So point and flex. And you should be able to feel it all the way up the front side of the leg. Maybe on the back side, and then go ahead and rotate. And reverse. Good. And then put that down. And while we're still tucked back, we're going to try that stretch again, but we're going to grab from the opposite side. So we're going to grab as far as you can. Now, if you can't reach the other side of the chair, which is a little awkward, you can just grab the outside of your thigh. And you're gently going to twist and look over that shoulder, only to the point where you feel a stretch. You shouldn't feel a strain or any pain. And then gently back to center, drop that hand, and in the opposite direction. And just gently, wherever it feels okay for you, a little twist. Good, and then release. Get my exercise today too. And then we're going to reach our arms up, right? So we're still tucked back so that the lower back is tucked into there, but we're going to come away with our shoulders and reach up. Look up if it feels okay for you. And then we're going to extend those arms all the way down. And you're going to push through the palm of the hand while you're doing it. And again, reaching up. And then turn the palms to face out, flex at the wrist, and push away. Pushing away so that the wrist is down. And you should feel that, right? You should feel that all the way up the arm. And then one more time, because it feels so amazing, we're going to do the same thing and push away so that as if you're resisting as you go down. And then release. Yeah, right? You think that's such a simple move, but really it can give you such great release. And it's, oh, I forgot there's something in that. And then you feel that release. Now, if you have ever had carpal tunnel or what I now refer to as holding your phone too long, right? Smartphone, some version of this, we're constantly holding our phone. We're actually overtaxing the thumb. It wasn't designed to constantly be in a static position like that. So that stretch, as simple as it is, stretches it all, and you can feel it. You should feel it all the way up and into the underside of the armpit. Okay, so we're going to open our feet a little bit wide. If you have a skirt on, okay. And we're going to lean forward. We're going to place our palms of our hands just above our knees. And we're going to bring the chest forward, and we're going to arch the back just a little bit, open up through the chest. And then we're going to reverse that exact same pose by tucking the chin in and bringing the lower back and middle part of the back against the back of the chair. And then up again. And then slowly roll the shoulders, bring the belly in, drop the chin. And one more time. So we're going to just rotate the neck. Now, if you have any neck injuries, you want to be mindful of your own range of motion. This is still a gentle stretch, but you know your body better than anybody else, so listen to what it's telling you. But you're going to make sure both those feet are flat on the floor. And if you need to scoot a little bit forward, that's okay. You want that leverage and that connection to the floor. But we're going to start by keeping the chin level with the floor and just look over one shoulder. And then gently rotate very slowly in the opposite direction. Relax your shoulders, soften your jaw. And we're going to do that again. Keep going. Nice and slow. Only to where it feels good. And then back. We're doing that 3 times. So we have one more time in each direction. One more time. Keep the shoulders relaxed, jaw soft. Good. And then relax. So we're going to slouch down to the chair. And we're going to come into this pose again. But what we're going to do is you're going to flex those feet. And you're going to use your chair to grip from underside and open up through the chest. Now, it's a little awkward with the head, so you might want to keep your chin tucked in. But we're trying to create like a plank of our body. And now point the toes, feel that stretch. And then one more time, flex the feet. And then point the toes. One more time, flex. And point. Good. All right, that's good. You never thought you'd be in a position where I was going to say, yeah, you want to get down and slouch as far as you can into the chair. But it's about creating that nice length. And for people who have limited mobility, and a chair is really a great platform for them, they can still get that nice long stretch. So the next stretch, and this is the last one we're going to do for now, we're going to take one leg and bring it up over however you can so that it feels comfortable. The important part is to make sure that the ankle extends past the leg that it's resting on. Only do this if it feels okay. If you have injuries to the knee, injuries to the ankle, and it feels uncomfortable, you can just sit and stretch and open up through the chest. But what you're going to do is you're going to scoot a little bit up and away so that your back isn't against the chair. And you're going to use this as a leverage point to pull it just gently in toward you at the same time that you lift up through the crown of the head. Breathe. Good, and relax. And then you're going to shift to the other one. Same thing here. You want to have that ankle extend beyond that thigh that it's resting on, just so that it has full mobility. And same thing here. You're going to push a little bit towards you and lift up through the chest, lift up through the crown of the head. Breathe. Good, and release. And you might notice that one side's easier than the other, right? So for me, I have issues with my right hip. And so I don't have the same level of mobility in my right hip that I do with my left. So I feel it stretch differently. But you always want to do it for the same amount of time, the same intensity, doing your best to just continue. And you'll find over time that you'll get more mobility as you practice. You don't need to be flexible in order to do yoga. You get flexible from doing yoga. So we're going to, any questions about what we did? Yeah, those are simple things, right? You could do it in your chair anytime. And they're really good for relieving, everything that we did is good for relieving stress, physical stress and sensations of stress that we have in the body. All right, so yoga is not just about pretzel poses. It's about all the different limbs. And again, we're going to talk about 3 limbs. So let's go to the next part of it. Here we go. So breathing is one of those amazing parts of our body, right? If we never think about breathing, our body does a really great job, thank goodness, all on its own, breathing for us. But we have a tendency here, because it's not something that we're actually trained to do, but that is to take control of our breath and use it as a way to help both our mood, our physical body, calm our nerves, actually give us a little bit more blood flow to the brain. So many different things that we can do. But here are the science-based things that we know that breath exercises can do for us. It can relieve tension. So if you have a headache, one of the #1 things to do is to do a breathing technique, which we're going to do called belly breathing. And that's really good for oxygenating the blood and really bringing some great diaphragmatic breathing into our day. It calms anxiety. Therapists in situations with people who are either severely depressed, dealing with trauma, or in the midst of an anxiety attack or situation, will use breathing techniques to help calm that. But we can learn those techniques and help ourselves when we're feeling anxious. So when you're sitting in traffic and you know you're running late, instead of all the things that you're worried about happening, you could actually take a minute and do a breathing technique to calm your anxiety. Another technique that actually reduces pain. Breathing techniques reduce pain. Why? Because it actually brings additional blood flow into the body. It floods our brain with highly oxygenated blood, and it can do a lot to reduce pain. It also lifts mood. Do you see a theme here between the asana practice and breathing techniques? It actually makes us feel better, and it diminishes distress. So if you've ever watched a trauma movie, a police show or something like that, or somebody's really in a lot of duress, and the person who's working with them, if they're trained on it, will start to help that person calm down by getting them to breathe with them. And this is a really great strategy if you have little kids who tend to get really excited. The more you can stay really grounded in your own breath and in your own calmness, you can actually help them by your own example to calm down. People who work in situations of high stress, first responders in particular, people who work in the healthcare setting, if they're trained in breathing techniques, they can make a huge difference in everybody around them who may be in distress. So it helps us and it helps those people around us. So let's go to the next slide now. So we're going to do one technique because we only have an hour together, and I want to make sure we get plenty of time to practice and to ask questions. And we're going to do this technique for a little while. And this is the one where we're going to slouch into the chair. Not as much as we did that first time, right? It's not about creating a thing, but you're just kind of relaxing into it. You know, a little bit of openness. And the idea is to open both the chest and the belly at the same time. These chairs are a little bit, might feel a little awkward to do that, but it's really about opening up. So when we open the chest, we actually make just a tiny bit of difference in how much air we can get into our lungs. And what we're going to do here is focus our awareness after a few breaths on the belly. So what I want you to do is just to sit back like this. And if it feels okay for you, go ahead and close your eyes. Make sure your feet stay flat on the floor though. It's a little bit easier even if the chairs are a little tall for you. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to connect in with the breath. We're not going to try to change it or control it. We're just going to notice our own natural breath. The inhale and the exhale. It's kind of an awkward situation being in a room like this where we're so focused on breath. So if you notice that you're feeling a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of agitation over doing this, just allow yourself to breathe however you need to and come back to it. For most of us, it can be just a simple relaxation technique. Notice where your breath lives in your body. Maybe you notice the sensation of breathing in the rise and the fall of your chest or your belly. Some people can feel it in the back of their throat or at the tip of the nose. Wherever it is, just notice where you can feel your breath the most clearly. Now that you're aware of where your breath is most noticeable, we're going to take control of the breath and we're going to inhale through the nose and we're going to draw that breath down into the belly so that we feel a little bit of an expansion. We're going to create a small exaggeration by feeling the belly expand. So just put your hands resting on your belly with your fingertips touching. And as you inhale, bring that air as clearly as you can down to your belly. Allow the belly to grow full with that air. And then exhale, the fingers begin to touch again. And just allow yourself to stay with that breath. Staying as relaxed and calm as you can. Don't worry about perfection or doing this perfectly. It's just about your breath in this moment. For some of us, it's easy to get that breath down to the belly. And for some of us, it might take half a dozen breaths before you really feel it. You're not trying to force it. There should be an ease and a softness to the breath. Make sure your shoulders are relaxed and your jaw is soft. See if you can find an easy rhythm to settle your belly breathing. Relaxing the body, relaxing the breath. You can keep your hands on your belly or relax them into your lap and just stay with the belly breathing. Trying to stay in and out through the nose, unless you have some congestion, and then breathe in a way that feels okay for you. Imagine with every inhaling breath that you're bringing in relaxation. And with every exhaling breath, you're letting go of those things that are getting in your way. The things that no longer serve us. Relaxing into the breath, allowing the chair to support you. And take 3 more breaths of those deep belly breaths. When you finish those last 3, just allow your breath to return to its own natural control. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. So what do you think that belly breathing is best for? Falling asleep. That's right. It's a relaxing breath, right? So if you are struggling at night to fall asleep, that's a really good breath to do. There's 2 ways that this breath works though, and it's interesting. Because while you're doing the breath, and for a minute or 2 after you stop doing the breath, you feel super relaxed and calm, and you could go to sleep. But if you're not asleep, or you're not lying down, and you're in a chair, and you do that, in a few minutes, your energy level actually will rise to a nice, attentive sort of energy. Not, oh my goodness, I'm gonna go clean the whole house, but more just like you're back where you need to be. You're at a nice level point. So it's an interesting breath for that reason, because it brings a ton of oxygenated blood, right? It's called belly breathing, but it's really diaphragmatic breathing. We're bringing the air down into our diaphragm where the breath is most helpful and robust, and we're bringing that into the system, right? So a lot of times when we're really struggling and we have a very stressful, high-paced lifestyle here in the United States, and we're constantly go, 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 and our body just becomes attentive to that. And what happens is that when we're constantly in this go, 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 our breath becomes more shallow. Instead of deep and robust, it's shallow and short. And so taking a few minutes to do that deeper belly breathing brings all of those amazing benefits. So how did it make you feel? Who actually fell asleep? I didn't see anybody fall asleep, but usually when I do it, somebody does.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially if you just ate. Yeah. And that's okay, but like I said, if you don't, over the next couple of minutes, you should feel a little more calm, and you should feel a little more at a good baseline, right? Not super energetic. So there's a breathing technique. I used to work at a big university here in Northeastern Ohio, and I would teach the students how to energize themselves when they're studying for long periods of time rather than drinking copious amounts of energy drinks or coffee or things like that. And so there are breathing techniques that will actually help you wake up, like really wake up, like better than a cup of coffee. So we don't have, it's not a good idea in the age of COVID to do that breathing because it's actually too robust for us to do in a room together. But if you're interested in one of the links, there's that breathing. There's also the 4-7-8 breathing, which I have the link to, which is a really great technique if you wake up in the middle of the night. And we talked about menopause last week. If you wake up in the middle of the night and belly breathing doesn't help you get back to sleep, the 4-7-8 breathing does. And that is actually demonstrated in that link by Dr. Andrew Weil. And it's another really great technique. It includes holding your breath, but just for a few short beats, right? So inhale, exhale, and a hold. Those three things make up the majority of breathing techniques. So the belly breathing, it's the inhale and the exhale and the intention of moving it down to the belly. So belly breathing is a great way to relax. It's a great way to calm down. It's a great technique to teach your kids. I also, at the end of my mom's life, she had Alzheimer's. I was able to actually help her use belly breathing to get her to calm down when she was having an anxious moment. So anybody can do it, and it's a really helpful modality. Any questions, any thoughts about that? Okay, all right, let's go on to the next. This is where we're going to spend the rest of our time. Meditation. So does anybody here meditate? Has anybody ever here meditated once in their life? Okay, a couple people, all right. So meditation is probably the most studied of the three things that we're talking about today. Lots of great information about postures and yoga and how it can help the physical body. A lot of great things around breathing techniques, but the most researched practice for stress reduction and anxiety relief is meditation. And meditation is not just one thing, it's many different tools, many different ways to achieve the same goal, which is to create a connection with the present moment that we're in and allow our mind to soften and relax. So this is the science, and you can see there's some repeats of things we talked about in the other two, but it's a much more lengthy list, and that's because the research around this for the last almost 50 years is really profound. And I actually came to meditation when I was in my mid-20s, when I had cancer, as a way for me to help cope with the cancer that I had and the treatment that I needed to have. And thankfully, I'm cured from that cancer and I have a normal lifespan ahead of me. But this practice has been an important part of my life, and it is for a lot of people. So here's what science says, that if you meditate on a regular basis, and that's the important thing, right? Meditation isn't a one and done. It's a practice. It's a discipline that you bring into your life on an ongoing basis. For most people who really meditate on a regular basis, it's normally a daily practice. Not everybody does it, and depending on your life. So I've been meditating I figured it out the other day, because normally I just say it over 25 years, but I've been meditating for 32 years. And these things come into my life, not because I learned to meditate perfectly. I meditate for all the benefits it brings into my life. So stress reduction. First and foremost, if you can meditate on a daily basis, you can reduce your stress. So remember, stress is our reaction to things that happen around us. So something that I feel really stressed about, you may think is exciting. And it's our reaction that makes the difference. And so meditation teaches us, without even trying, to have a slightly different reaction to those things that are happening around us. And it reduces anxiety. And this is intriguing and interesting from a scientific standpoint, because it's the act of meditating brings this benefit into our life. But the trigger is that when we meditate, we learn to create a space between ourselves and what's happening around us. So anxiety provoking situations, right? You walk into a room and all of a sudden you realize you have to present something and you're not prepared, right? That is an anxiety provoking situation. When we meditate, we find that there's that space in between ourselves and our reaction and what's happening outside of us. And we can make a different decision in that space in between us, which sounds kind of weird, but it's something that once you start meditating, you actually see how that works. A sense of self-awareness. It's really hard to hide things from yourself when you meditate on a regular basis. Everything that's happening inside of you and all of your interactions around you become really obvious to yourself when you are meditating. So self-awareness is kind of a byproduct of meditation. It improves your attention. So when I worked at the university, we actually trained a lot of the professors in how to teach some really basic meditation techniques so that they could teach it to their students in lead-ups to important exams. And we did research around it to see if it did actually make a difference, and it makes a huge difference. Even if it doesn't change anything about the study skills that they had prior to taking the test, those students who learned the meditation technique that they did for weeks prior to the exam, and then would do the same technique just prior to the exam, they would actually do better by several points, which is very intriguing. It protects our memory. So there's lots of research around people with dementia or memory loss that if they're taught to meditate, it's better to be proactive, but even for someone who has the condition, meditation can make a huge difference for them. It improves sleep, which is interesting and intriguing at the same time, because some people will start a meditation practice and almost always fall asleep at some point during their meditation. That's because meditation can be relaxing. And over time, that starts to diminish and you start to stay awake longer and longer when you meditate, right? So if you meditate, say 10, the sweet spot for meditation is 12 minutes. So the science is really strong. Somewhere between 12 and 15 minutes, we get the optimal benefits. More than 15, if it makes you feel great, good. Less than 12, not as beneficial. But if you meditate for that 12 minutes and you can stay awake through the whole meditation, it improves your quality of sleep and you feel more energized throughout the day. So that 12 minutes of meditation kind of contributes to the benefits that sleep brings to us, right? It doesn't change the amount of sleep that we get. It just changes our relationship and our the benefits of what it does for our brain. Reduces pain. So all three of these things reduce pain. So it's an understanding. I actually started to meditate and breathing exercises and doing yoga when I was diagnosed because I was in a lot of pain and I was really scared, and it reduced my pain. So I needed less pain meds. I was out of the hospital faster. I recovered faster. And it's not just me. Lots and lots of people experience this. Less readmits. So we did it at the Cleveland Clinic. We did research around people who were taught to meditate who were going to have open heart surgery, which is a really invasive procedure. And those people who actually did a 6-week course on meditation and then were encouraged to meditate every day as they were going through surgery and recovery, even if they were bedbound at the time, their experience of pain was really reduced, and the amount of meds that they needed compared to the control group was reduced. They were out of the hospital sooner, they were compliant with their post-operative care, and there were fewer readmits, which a lot of people are, unfortunately, after open heart surgery, can be readmitted for one reason or another. So this is powerful information for somebody who's struggling and in a crisis situation, but it's more powerful because it makes a difference every day, right? In everyday situations, 12 minutes of meditation can really reduce your pain. So I was part of the research that we did at the Cleveland Clinic because I was considered an adept meditator, which means you meditated on a daily basis at more than 5 years. I could actually, when I meditate, I actually can physically reduce my blood pressure. I'm not trying to do anything, like I'm not thinking about reduce your blood pressure. It just automatically reduces. And that means that the pressure on my heart is less and the amount of oxygenated blood that flows through my body is greater. It enhances your immune system response, which is one of the reasons why people who meditate are able to get out of the hospital faster and have less readmits. So I reference those severe situations because it brings, in those crisis situations, these benefits, but these benefits accrue to all of us who are attentive to trying to build a meditation practice. So meditation is a practice, which we've already mentioned, just like exercise, right? So you know, you're not going to get physically fit or you're not going to get fitter or you're not going to keep your mobility if you don't exercise. And the same thing is true of meditation. You have to have a practice. It needs to be a discipline, an important part of your day and your routine. And fitting it in, like figuring out where you're going to put those 12 minutes in, is something that everybody has to address. So when my kids were really little, so I learned to meditate before I had children. My kids are adults and gone and grown. And then I meditated in one way before I had them. And then I meditated a different way when they were babies. And then I meditated a different way when they were school age. And they actually learned to meditate with me. And the things that they remember most are some of the meditations that we did. So sitting down and quieting your mind is just like yoga, the asana practice. People are like, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible. And other people say, I can't meditate because my mind never stops working. Well, that's good. I don't want your mind to stop working. Nobody wants that to happen. Meditation is not about quieting the mind to be silent. It's about giving your mind something else to focus on so that your body and your brain can relax. So if you try to tell yourself, stop thinking, right? It's like, don't think about a big elephant. Don't think about a big elephant. Well, of course, all you're going to think of is an elephant, right? It manifests itself in your brain. So instead, we're just giving the brain something else to focus on. So we're going to do a meditation together. And this meditation, you can hear me okay, everything. So this meditation, it's just 6 lines. And I just kept it here just in case I got nervous and couldn't remember it, even though I've been using it for almost 14 years. It's called a gatha. So a gatha is a Sanskrit word which means meditative poem. And this particular gatha, it's on your piece of paper, so if you want to use this gatha, and I gave you a link to this gatha if you like it. A lot of times teachers will give you gathas or meditative poems in Sanskrit so that you don't know what the words are, so that you're not focused on the intellectual exercise of the words. You're just focused on sounds, and you allow yourself to just settle into the rhythm of the words. But I think it's helpful if you've never done meditation. Like if I start singing Sanskrit to you, you're going to think it's crazy. But this meditative poem comes from Thich Nhat Hanh, who just left his body. It's the term that they use when someone dies in the tradition of Buddhism. And this is an English translation that he did of his own poem that was in Sanskrit originally. So what I would like you to do is have a little leap of faith with me and sit in a comfortable position in the chair. It's really a good idea to have feet on the floor and your back supported and your hands resting in your lap with your palms facing up. If that bothers you because you have a shoulder injury, put them however it feels comfortable for you. And then I want you to close your eyes if it feels all right and connect in with your breath. Notice the inhale and the exhale. You're not trying to change your breath in any way. You're just allowing your breath to be even and relaxed. So I'm going to read the gatha to you. I'll probably go through a few repetitions. You can see if you can lead your breath with the words, if that feels okay for you. Or you can just let the words wash over you. You can let the words drop away from you. There's no perfect way. There's just the way that works for you in this moment. I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. I dwell in the present moment.
I know this is a precious moment. I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. I dwell in the present moment. I know this is a precious moment. I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. I dwell in the present moment. I know this is a precious moment. I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. I dwell in the present moment. I know this is a precious moment. I know I am breathing in. I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. I dwell in the present moment. I know this is a precious moment. In, out, calming, smiling, present moment, precious moment. As we release the palm, we're going to take 3 deep inhaling breaths in through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. And when you feel ready, take your time. You can open your eyes. How was that? Any thoughts on that? What was that?
See everyone tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a nice warm room and you guys all seem to like each other, and so it's more likely that you would feel relaxed during that. But what's great about the meditative poems is that it can give you something else to focus on, right? If you're not comfortable just sitting and being with your breath in silence, having a meditative poem, somebody who can actually read it in a way that feels good for you, right? So my voice doesn't work for everybody. Some people prefer a different voice, a different cadence, a different timing. Everybody's different. And so there are a couple of links in there to YouTube videos of somebody doing these where you don't have a visual, right? They might have a pretty picture, but you can hear somebody's voice in the background. And the most popular is a British guy who has it, he does it just perfectly, right? I think for most people, his voice is just perfect. And it gives you that opportunity for when thoughts start to wind through your head to just let the thought go and bring your awareness back to the words, right? You don't need to engage intellectually with those words, right? Because they're really simple words, they're all accessible words. They usually don't trigger anything for most people. And then you can allow your brain to focus on those words and let thoughts that bring up depression and anxiety and stress kind of fall to the wayside. Not because you're pushing them away, but because you're giving your body or your awareness something else to focus on. So any thoughts on that? Yeah, there's probably 4 or 5 popular gathas out there that you could do, but there are people who will make sounds, so singing bowls and certain tonal music that you can listen to are also really helpful. Some people, like I said, meditation, there are many different paths to it. There's a meditation that you can do by staring at the flame of a candle or a picture of a loved one, a flower, and that every time your mind kind of travels off into some crazy thought, you just bring it back to that object that is neutral for you. So those are different ways to approach it. We covered a lot in this very short period of time. I actually studied for a whole year to become a yoga instructor, but we kind of capsulized the 3 most important ones for health and well-being. The rest are related to ways in which you can live in the world, but these are the most important that have healing and science that's attached to their quality and what it can bring to your life. And again, meditation isn't about learning to meditate perfectly, because every day when you sit down, you bring with you whatever's happening in your life. So I've been meditating for decades, but every day when I sit down, it's a little bit different, right? So I might have just had a stressful call from my kid before I sit down and meditate. And so that's part of my meditative experience, that anxiety that's swirling around in my chest, right? Or in my stomach, worried about them for some reason. Or maybe I just went for a really long walk and I feel really relaxed. So my meditation experience may seem like I'm going to sit down and it's going to be perfection, but then some kind of crazy thought comes up and I'm dealing with that. So every time you sit down and meditate, it's a different experience, and it's not about perfection, because even the most difficult times where you have to redirect your thoughts a million times in 10 minutes still provides the benefits we talked about of meditation. So it doesn't have to be any particular experience. It's the habit that we bring into our life, the discipline of bringing it into our experience. So one caution with meditation and even also breathing exercises is, because it's so soothing and relaxing, you never do them when you're driving in a car. I just give that as a cautionary tale, because some people say, oh, I like to meditate when I'm in my car. I'm like, no, we really don't want to meditate when you're in your car. You pay attention. It's not the right time to do it. But walking, so I'm from around here, and I went, actually, yesterday I went to North Chagrin Reservation. And if you go from Chardon Road all the way out to Wilson Mills, it's 4 miles. So if you do a round trip, it's 8. And so I did an 8-mile walking meditation because I had a really stressful week last week. And for me, that put me right. So I do what's called a Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian one where you say, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And you say it repetitively over and over again.
Crying.
What?
I'm walking and crying.
No, it's really soothing. Yeah, it's a really great soothing meditation. So I'm getting my physical exercise, I'm outdoors in nature, I'm combining all these different techniques. So meditation, I never sit cross-legged on the floor. I did when I first started. It's not comfortable for me anymore. So I sit in a chair or I walk when I meditate, and I make sure I'm on a path where I know where I'm going. I know that path I've walked probably more than a couple thousand miles in that park. And so I know it and I feel comfortable, and we all know it's a good safe park. And so it's someplace where I know I can go and I can just walk. I can walk my 8 miles. I know where the bathroom spots are, and I can just meditate and just say that over and over to myself. And I walk away feeling absolutely amazing, right? I actually literally feel like I'm a couple feet off the floor after that, that meditation. So there's lots of different ways to meditate. There's lots of ways to bring breathing into your life. And there's lots of different ways to do the asana practice. It doesn't all include going to a particular class with a teacher. As a matter of fact, we have the link on there for yoga with Adrienne, which is my favorite. I discovered her over the pandemic and I've been shouting her glory. She's one of the best trained meditation teachers or yoga teachers I've ever worked with. And she's familiar with all 8 limbs. And so she approaches it from that standpoint. And it's free. She has hundreds and hundreds, like I think there's 600 or 700 videos up there from 5 minutes to an hour and a half practice. So
Which one is that? Oh.
Yoga with Adrienne. So questions, comments, thoughts? Sharing.
A lot of us have stand-up desks.
Yeah.
Are there any stretching or anything we should do?
Yes.
Standing?
Yes, so great question. So this is the number one stretch for sitting or standing for too many. So like when I go for a long walk, like I did this, you want to get to the point where you can put your fingertips so you're not putting pressure. And you lengthen through the spine from the tailbone out through the crown of the head, settling back into straight legs. So that's one part of it. And then you walk up to the chair and you bring it securely into your body.
And you lift up and back, rolling the shoulders back down and away from the ears.
And then the chair can be used, just like we were doing in the thing. You can use it to stretch in both directions. You can also use it, so you can use a chair or a desk. It just needs to be at the right height. Should be about belly button height. And then, deep knee bends. So the yoga squat, is anybody familiar with the yoga squat? Good thing I'm wearing these pants today. So this is the pose that you want to be able to get into. So more than 2 billion people in the world get into this position several times a day, and that's why they don't have lower back pain like we do in general. Right? It's called the elimination pose.
Yeah.
So that's also a really helpful one because it relieves the stress of standing too long. Anything else? Questions? Comments? Glad you came. So let's get up and stretch because I relaxed you. Let's just get up and stretch one time together before we break from our time together, and just reach up. So you want to have those feet about hip width apart and reach up, look up, palms facing in, and then just push them out, just like we did when we were sitting, and drop the head down toward the chin toward the chest. Good, one more time up. Go at your own pace so it feels good. And then bringing the hands to face out, bringing the chin down. And then roll the shoulders one at a time, roll them back. Get your whole body into it. And then forward. I forgot, sorry. Good, and then just relax and then just shake. Just bounce from the knees, bounce from the knees. Bring those arms out, soften, loosen, let it all go. Good. And now, just come to a still point and just humor me for 1 second, close your eyes. And just feel the sensation of the movement in your body as it still resonates through you. Go ahead and open your eyes. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you.
Here's my information, or my information in a PowerPoint presentation. If you have a question that you don't want to ask in front of other people, I almost always get a follow-up call or email, and I welcome them.
Thank you so much. Don't forget, one more. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking time out of your day.
We're not gonna get much look at that now.
Yes, you are. You're gonna walk outside. fresh air.